Now it looks very naive, and I started with Daniel. In fact, I made some progress since yesterday. I think it worked, and I will share with you in a second. It looks like, like what it looks with Daniel, like you can make a tab by clicking add a tab, and let's say I will add SEO, and it will add a tab, okay? But the tab is empty. In Appio, there is Appio. And the way we did it before, I did it with Daniel mostly, we added an HTML. And I changed it. And I will say in a minute. I don't know how much you, Michael, and SEO, are you up to speed?
Technically, I started today.
Okay, so now I recommend after today, I'll try to put it short, at least to get the structure, okay? And the idea and where it's going. I added another button here called source. We can delete the delete button. I delete SEO, it does delete SEO. So this mechanism we already have done. We made object-oriented, but this one is different than I showed you, Daniel, in several aspects. See, if I click on Appio, it says hi. And secondly, if you look at here, and you go to your application, JavaScript, and the templates, and we go to here, and we go to the includes, those are still here. I'm going to delete them. Okay? And rerun it and see what happened. Theoretically, it shouldn't work. Is that right? According to what we did, Daniel. Because it's supposed to pull up the content from inside. Let's run it. Okay, click on Appio. Oh, it's there. Click on it, it works. What happened? So let me explain the idea. And this is really one of the things I was waiting a long time to redo, something I have done 20 years ago. And here is the idea. You, Daniel, had a table. We'll go slowly, don't worry. Everything will be clear. And you will have to really invest a lot of time. You have a table called data tabs, okay? I'm gonna remove it. I'm gonna do control. Let's go to the admin. I go to the admin. Let's make sure it's not there so we don't get any error. And let's take that one out. And let's see if that's continue to work. Run it. I got an error. Data tabs from Academy Lab. Yeah, there's an error. Why it's an error? Because you probably have it still in here. Is that right? Here we go. I will delete those stuff too. I will delete. See, I deleted all your stuff, by the way, to the screens, to the activation function, everything I deleted. In a minute will make sense. But where is the error? Here we go, it's in the view. So there is here, and I'm not really using it, and I'm not using this one either. I cleaned it up, nothing here. You see that? That's the only things there, and I'll talk about it in a second. Let's run it again. Run it. It works. Opio works. Click on it, works. So what's happening here? Looks strange, isn't it? There is no HTML. So how will you explore what happened? And as we do that, okay, you'll understand the concept. And how will you go about it? You'll say, okay, what does it start? This one, is that right, Daniel?
Yes.
That's the way you know where does it go. So it should go to the J. What is the J? J probably in the system. If you go here, you probably have a J. Am I right? Somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. So the J takes you to here. Is that right? From the J will take you to your application. Okay, so then let's go to your application. Let's close that. We don't need that. Let's go to your application, which is this one. Let's go to the URLs there. And after the J, what do we have? The T. Is that right? Goes to the tab. Am I right? So you do click and B. Control B. Okay, I'm getting here. And what am I seeing here? I'm seeing it's opening the AT. I changed it to AT HTML. So far, so good. By the way, I kept all the other stuff, so I will give it to you later on. You will see them there. Those one I deleted, but you probably has them or whatever. I deleted them, but you can put them back if you want. They won't make a difference. What did I delete? Let's leave it. Yeah, here we go. You'll have those included there. Yeah, but they won't make a difference. You can delete them. I don't need them. You will see in a second. But I do have, I kept you the AT version 3, okay? But this is the one that I'm really using. And what do I have here? That's really the page is being opening here. Is that right? So what do we see here? Let's go from the very top. We don't really have much here. The header. We don't really have, this is just the Django. This is like those two, we know them. Is that right? This one you need to know by heart. You have to have those one to have Ajax to work. Then we have this stuff to make it secure. Okay? So we don't really care. What's really left, it's really just this part, which is the function being activated when the page is opening up. That's one we know. Esther, you with us?
Yes, doctor.
Let me see. Let me turn my camera as well. This is really what being activated, am I right? Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, what it does, it's using an object called Advanced Tabs Manager, which me and Daniel spent some time on it. But I did another trick here. If you see variable ATM name, when I see this bracket, where does that come from? It must come from the view, is that right? So let's go back to the view. This is the view we're getting into, is that right? And I'm transferring a variable called ATM name, and I call it ATM. You will see in a minute why I did that. So far, so good. So what's really happening when the page is opening, I'm opening AT. The AT will open up, but when after it's being loaded, is generating an object. And the object's name, I didn't define it. I defined it in the view. That's pretty cool. In fact, if you look at here, I do right click, view page source, what will you see? You see, let me make it bigger. You see in the bottom here, var ATM, So the objects that I'm creating will be called ATM. Is that right? We made it manually last time. Remember, Daniel?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Moreover, I always like to put my name to, because I might use it inside. For now, it doesn't make any sense, but it will later on. Secondly, we transfer as a variable the body, okay? And it's really nothing but taking this part, so I'm transferring it to the object. This is the way we create an object in JavaScript. It's like class in, it's like a class in Python, correct? This is the way we create an object in JavaScript. This is the way we create. The way we define it's different. And we'll get to that in a second. And the second thing I'm giving it, it's the link. This is the link that I need to use, which takes me to where? Let's look at it again. This time, I have activation function link, and it takes me to a different application. Which application does it take me, Daniel? Can you see? Huh?
Forward.
Oh, it takes me to the core. And in the core, I put a function called activate function. Is that right?
Yeah.
In another word, I moved everything to another place where it should be. Now that I know the structure. So I have a function, one function only in the core. And what did I do in the core? I'll get back to that. Because I haven't given you yet the concept. You look at the core, you go into the URLs, and there is indeed, this function is right there. You see that? This is a function we worked on together, me and you, Daniel. Started last time, remember?
Yes.
And that's a very smart function. Very, very smart function. Not only that, when I go to that function, this is the function, and it's very weird function. Very weird looking function. It takes, you know, with the request, I get a dictionary. And by the way, this is a string. It takes it as a string. The eval turns it to a Python dictionary. And inside the dictionary, I'm getting here four things. A function, and a name, and I'll call what ATM is, an object, a parameters. Then it makes a string, weird string. It calls it again in eval, and boom, something happened. That's pretty cool. Okay, and it means we'll go step by step. Now, to connect it to something me and you, Daniel, we have done, we made an object. So remember, we started making an object?
Yeah.
And we put it in the view of your project. That's, of course, not the right way to do. We said we just started. The right way to do it, we made this object and we put it right in here. This object is inside the core project, so where it belongs to. So if you look at the core project, because we're going to use this in many other applications, we're going to start building up the business simulation. And then eventually I will reshuffle the finance project as well, okay? Based on that structure, because that's going to be very robust object, which Python, Django doesn't have. So we're making something above Django, okay? So now if you look at that object called advanced tab, it is sitting in a Python page, which I called, how did I call it? Advanced tabs. You see that here, advanced tabs? Here we go. So we have a page, advanced tab, which is in the core page, right? It's in the core. And these objects going to manage all type of tapes. So I will go over that again. I moved a lot of the stuff into the core. That's where it belongs to. And I have an object, and it means I will go over it. You see, you can tell. I have a delete tab, I have an add tab, get tab from tables. Those are the functions you made. Remember, Daniel?
Yes, Doctor.
And then I put them as part of an object this time. Okay? Now I made another this one we don't need. We can close it. And the admin we don't need. The mother we don't need. All of that I removed from your application. They don't need to be in your application. They are in the core application. The core application has an object. And by the way, it has its own table. And the table that you used to have data tapes, remember?
Yes.
Which I deleted. By the way, here we go, let's do that. Just remove it. I'll do make migrations. So it will delete it hopefully, yeah. I intentionally didn't want it to delete it, I wanted you to see it. Okay, so I wanted to delete that table away. Should remove it. Okay, delete model data tapes. That's the one you had, remember? I deleted it. It's gone. Okay, so let's do migrate. Why doesn't it like me? It will be gone. So your table is deleted. It's not in your project anymore. Got it?
Yes.
Got it. So the table is really in the core where it belongs to. Because the core is supposed to hold something that belongs to all other projects. So we want to build up a advanced tab that I can use it in any application we're developing. Now we're going to do another application, but I was talking to someone in real estate. Something will happen eventually, as I said, something will happen. And what will happen will be big time. Now, and it's something will hit, the first one that will hit will go lead to the next and next and next. But we should keep moving in the direction we're doing. And this one is extension to what I did in the finance. And that's probably going to be the last development before we get into the machine learning stuff from software engineering point of view. Now that I deleted it, you see, by the way, if I go and run, nothing happened. I don't really depend on it stuff at all. Let's run that one again. See, it's there. APO, you see there. I click on it. There is, but there's no HTML, there's nothing. So what is it? That's the amazing part, okay? That's the beauty part. So we have an object. We have an object that being called by, let's make an order. There's a functions in the core that I will need to call. If I want to use something in the advanced, this is going to be the function. What is that? Okay. And this is the function that I will call if I want to do something with the advanced tab. This one, it's really going to this weird looking function. And this looking function, in fact, going to use this object. So let's make an order here. Okay, so this looking function, by the way, object here, if you go to your application for a second, and you look at here, you have a call, and you have this function here. You see that, Daniel?
Yes.
So I'm building up here an object that I'm transferring him a link to where? I'm transferring him a link basically to this function in the core application. Is that right? So I know how to use Ajax to approach that function. For example, we're using it here. And go up a second. Here we go. We're transferring that functions right to here. You see that? This is the link. And when we're getting it, we're keeping it inside. It's right here. By the way, you see all the other links are disappeared. See that? I threw them away. You don't need them. Now you'll work in a smart way. But that's a process. Okay? Now, this one, where do we use it? You can see. Hold a second. Why does it like me? Why do I have only one? Should I have more than one? Did I remove it? No, I didn't. Let me see here. Here we go. Okay. So this is a trick. We'll talk about this trick, but we see this link is, in fact, when I'm doing Ajax here, I'm really calling in a post, I'm calling nothing but this function. Is that right?
Yes.
And I'm transferring to it a dictionary. The only things I'm doing, I'm transferring to it a dictionary. And what is in the dictionary? All those stuff. But we'll get back to that again. So just making an order. We moved a lot of stuff to the core. What do we have in the core? 3 elements. Okay? We have the function. You know, this is really calling the function, which the function is in the view. That's one thing. So this function, his job is to take an order or take instructions, translate it to in such a way to call. So this function again, number 1, it's in the core, being activated through the URLs, of course, as usual, but it's transferring it to call one of the functions of this object. Okay, so we have all those functions. It's going to call this I call object, and it's going to call one of those functions. It's going to transfer variables to it in order to know what to do. And this function it needs the help of a database. And the database is the table. It's really sitting in the core as well. So if we do Control B, here we go. I replaced your table and I put it here. But I changed it a little bit. Got it so far? So what do we have in the core? In the core, we have the URL referring to the function in the view. The view, anything is being asked is turning it to a command to use the object, and the object is going to use data from and to the database, the table. That's all in the code. And that's in the Python. That's in the server. And how do I approach it? On the client side, which is the JavaScript, that's what we have in here. We create an object. This object's job is to communicate to that function in Python. So far, so good?
Yes.
Who's going to write the summary for today? Michael, Brenda? Daniel can't write, I know. Or Daniel maybe will write it. Okay, you'll have the video, I'm recording it. So by Sunday, you're writing a summary because it's so important, that structure. And eventually we'll document it inside Academy CD. So we have an object in JavaScript. And the job of this object is to manage the page in the HTML. But it has to communicate to data that sit in the database. And the database is sitting in the core application. And we don't really care because it's not our job. All what we need is that this link. All the rest will be done by the core. Is that right? We just have to know how to communicate to it. That's the beauty. So we divided the job between the server side and the client side. The server side, again, we have the function in the view. We have the object that manage whatever needs to be done, and using a table in the core. Those three elements in the server. In the client, we have an object written in JavaScript. We create it, we give him the link, and his job is to communicate through that link to the server. So far, so good? How do we create an object in JavaScript? That's a whole world. And for that, we're making a library, and we call, I changed the number intentionally, so I will leave this one open for now. This one I don't care anymore because this is just calling the basic one. But this is the place we're creating an object. Here we go. Let's do the whole things. Here we have an object called Advanced Tabs Manager and has several functions. His job is getting a link. You see that? He's getting a link. He's getting a link. He's getting the name of the body in the HTML. Is that right? And then a reference. This is really the object itself. And his name. That's it. So what does it do? Okay, hold a second. Before, what does it do? It just gets several parameters. And how does it get it? It gets it right here when we create him. When we create it. Just like any object, like in Python. Is that right? In Python, we have the init, correct? And here we have an object, a little structure differently. But basically, it's an object for JavaScript, for the client side. And now when we have this object is in charge of getting those parameters, and he is going to communicate to the server. Then we said, in fact, since he is going to manage the communication to the server, but that's not the only things. He's going to create the tapes. So the manager going to create those tapes. Okay? His job is to create those tapes. And that's why we have a tab object. So we have a tab object. I'm going to add another one called a pop-up window. We'll get to that. Let's leave that one for now. Like it doesn't exist for now. Okay, so we have a manager, advanced tab manager, which knows how to communicate to the server through the link we're giving him, and he knows how to create tabs, and we will deal with that as well. That's from the architecture point of view. Is that so far clear?
Yes.
So Michael will write the part, the first page on the architecture. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to take a break for 1 minute, okay? Apology. Okay, I will be right back. I have to take something care of one very quick, and I will be right back. Okay, sweetie? I'm stopping the recording. I'll do a pause. And okay. So on the client side, to build up a tab, a sophisticated tab, all what I need is eventually this library, correct? And this library has the definition of the objects I will need. And the objects, the main objects I will need is this advanced tab manager. That's the only two things I need to do in my application. Everything else, it's inside here. In this page. So what is in this page? The definition of two objects. One is the advanced tab manager, and the second one is the tab object. And we'll get into the detail in a minute. That is it. Client side, we have two objects. We're going to add another object, which is a pop-up window. It's like the one that I have in Academy City in here, like here. You see, like this one, I call it like a pop-up windows. Those ones are pop-up. You see that? This is a windows that can move around. So we learn how to add them. But what we really want to do is making a tab like this one. And that's really a full application. So we're really learning our own style of Academy City style. On top of Django, CMS, we're building something very unique that can help us to develop application big time. I was talking to someone, I noticed there's so many applications now, they're getting old, but nobody's really rewriting them because it's too expensive. So this method of development can make it much cheaper to rewrite applications that are already getting old. And there's a big opportunity for us for the next 2-3 years to take that market big time. So I already hearing that, and that's one thing is I'm almost done. In fact, I'm done. Next week, I will start doing testing on this one, and that will start being hopefully generating income to Academy City without regard to any students, to anyone. That's beautiful. Secondly, we'll start taking into teaching very advanced stuff that nobody really has it yet. It's like Django. We learn Django. Somebody wrote Django. We are writing Academy City style of how to build up application on top of Django and on top of Django CMS, which is really nice. And you will see it, you will appreciate it. Okay, so let's get back to here. Let me close that. I will get back to that. So this is the application, okay? And the beauty here, so how that works, because all what I have is, by the way, the URL I don't need, Okay, the view I will keep for now until I will explain exactly what this is the only thing that I need to explain. But this is really the starting point. I'm getting this library, and this library generating this object. And when this object's being generated, is doing something. So look at the logic. What I'm giving these objects, first of all, there's one thing which is very important to, because I want to be able to use the same object in other applications. And that's the exercise I want to give you, Daniel. Okay? Okay? You're going to make another application, put it under here, okay? Okay,
Yes.
and you're going to call it, how are we going to call it? It's going to be a business simulation. We're going to call it BS Cars. I write it down for you. I don't know, think about the name later on if you want. But that, I tell you the object that I would like you, the one to be. It really should be a business when it's how to manage. We're going to teach how to manage companies. It's a course that I just finished today, by the way. Today was the last session. Okay, I was teaching it in ebook, so you couldn't take it. And we want to use, they're using bicycles in their application. We're going to use cars. Okay, so find a name, and we're going to start developing this application. And as we develop the application, we also develop the teaching material for Certificate 3. So everyone that will be in Certificate 3 or finish Certificate 3 will be able to work on that project. That's what I want Dan and Daniel and David to join you. But they need to speed up. And you'll go over with them. So you will develop this business simulation course. So one way to maybe call that application, we maybe can call it BS, it doesn't sound good, yeah? Like bullshit, yeah? So we don't want to say BS. So what do we want to use? SC cars? What do you say? Academy City cars? Or Academy City Business Simulation cars? I don't know. Find a name. So by next week, Daniel, you'll have an application, a new application. And the new application, you duplicate what I did in your application now as a JavaScript tutorial. Because you're going to put the same things in both of them. Got it?
Yeah.
And you will see the beauty of it. That you can use the same structure for two different applications. Okay, so far so good?
Yeah, Doctor, I don't know whether you did the question.
What?
This is the question, Doctor.
They have a good name? It doesn't really matter. Nobody really sees that it's for us.
I mean pushing the project. I mean pushing that project to the GitHub.
No, we do it in our own terms. We're not pushing. I mean, this is a good for two reasons. One, you will be teaching it in Certificate 3. And second, it's like I did the finance part, and I hope now to promote it and start selling it and getting people so we can generate revenue for Academy City. This one, it will take about 6 months, I assume. And maybe parallel will be other projects coming, and all of them will be the same. That's the conclusion I got to. You got it? This is
Yes.
very different than Fab House, business, biz something, Bizland or whatever. They are websites. They are not applications. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, we still haven't gotten anything out of all that hard work, but it was good tutorial for you. You have learned a hell of a lot from it. Okay, now you're stepping up, and now we're really going to look for businesses. You got it? That was a
Yes.
good exercise, I think. And if something come out, it's okay. If something doesn't come out, the hell with it. It was an exercise. Okay, this is gonna generate. I know there's a real demand for it. So, okay. I don't know. You guys decide on a name and make an application. Add another application. You know how to do it, correct?
Yes.
So, it doesn't really matter how we call it. It's just for us. So we can call it car sim, like, or sim cars, simulation, sim car. How about that? Sim cars. Like simulation, business simulation, or biz sim car. I don't know. What do you say? I don't know. I just making it up. Okay? The reason why is that I'm going to make a push. And if I continue to work on, I don't want us to conflict each other. You got it?
Yeah.
So maybe we'll wait on that. How about that? Let's wait on that. And then you implement it inside the biz sim cars. Let's implement the whole thing perfectly on your project. And when we're done, at least the beginning, then we'll start implementing it on this one. But this is really what we want to generate. Like I generated with all the tools I developed, I did the finance. Now you're going to develop it to a different, totally different application. Tomorrow, Michael will do something for electrical engineering. The structure will be exactly the same because it has all the tools how to build application. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a side. And so what do? I'm doing it now for you. Okay, I can call it by the way any name I want. The beauty here, the name doesn't make any difference. But since I want to use it in the same places, I don't want to get any conflict in the future. I just give it a name. So ATM name, I gave it from the view. So when I created the view in the tab, where is it? No, this is not here. What is it? What is your tab? What did I do? No, this is a different, sorry, my mistake. The view in your application, so you have this tab, is that right? This is really starting your application, correct?
Yes.
And this view calling this HTML. So far, so good. And it's only transferring really like a name. I call it ATM. That's what we called it last time when me and you were working on. Remember? So I said, let's be smart. I am calling the applications, the JavaScript object. I need to create it and give it a name. So I'm giving the name right in here. And I'm transferring it to this HTML. When I'm transferring it to this HTML, since this one is being called on the server first, so it's going to change this one to ATM. So var ATM equal to new advanced tab manager. My name, parenthesis, is ATM, correct?
Yes.
And then the body is really the body of the page. And I'm transferring because I need it to add to it components, correct? And then the other last one is the link to this function in the core applications. So to communicate to the server to manage my data in the database. That's really what happened. So far, so good?
So,
Okay. So now that we have, by the way, this is why I said that you right click, view source page. It really is, this is the command in JavaScript. And what it is, look at that, let me make it big. What it really is, it's basically a new advanced tab manager. My name is ATM, exactly as I did. Is that right?
Yeah.
Exactly as me and you, Daniel, wrote it last week. But I removed all the other links. I left the body. That's exactly the way we did it, correct?
Yeah.
And I put only one link instead of so many links. We had a link for delete. We had a link for add. Remember that?
Yes.
No need for that. One link is enough. Now, here is the beauty. There's two elements, which is a big jump from what we did last week, me and you. What is the jump? Two jumps. First of all, let's look at the table. So I'm jumping to the server side. Remember, in your table, you had the tab name and the text. That's it. Is that right?
Yeah.
I added two more fields. So I have 4 columns now, beside the index, of course. Yeah. So I have an index. I have AT name. Okay. And I had a tab functions. Okay. Why did I need that? So when you added all the tabs, you had one row for every tab, correct? What I want to do now, if I have 2 tabs, 2 smart tabs, and I want to keep them in the same table, I added another column. This is the column, and I said, if I'm making a tab for your application, and I want to call it something, I want the first column will have all the tabs that you have. So I have a lot of rows for your tab, but in another application that you will do, let's say for the biz simulation, that will be a different application. Is that right? You will create a new tab. You give it a different name. I want all the tabs will be kept in the same table. So how do I distinguish between the two of them? I put another column, and the first column, the first tabs for this application will have that name. Another application will have a different name. Got it?
Yes.
That's why I added another. That's why I added another column here. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Let's look at the table. Let's look at the table. What do we have? AT name. You see the name? ATM? ATM?
Yeah.
So I have 2 tabs, correct? Amos and Opio. What do we have here? What do we have here? Amos and Opio. Is that right? Let's add another one. SEO. Enter. Okay, I have SEO as well. Is that right? Amos and SEO doing nothing. Only Opio does. Correct? Let's look at what happened in the table. Refresh. Oh, we have 3 rows now. Is that right? To
Yeah.
which application it belongs to? Which object? ATM. You got it? What did he got this name ATM for? Very simple. This is really the way I gave it here. It knows eventually you will see, we'll see the whole process, of course. It's exactly the name I gave it here, my name. So he takes the name, and when he creates a tab, he put a row for that name in the table. You got it? And you can imagine how I did it. Okay, so far so good.
So
That's one important thing. This one, Daniel is going to write. What I just said now, everything that has to do with the database. How is the table is being established? So we have 4 columns. We have 4 columns. One is, you know, we have 5 columns. One, the index, which is automatic, correct? This is automatically created. We have AT name, which is telling me the name of the JavaScript object advanced tabs manager name, correct? That's what will be the first column. Second row will be the name of the tabs. That's one you had in your table as well. Am I right?
Yeah.
You had in your table also, you had the text. Okay, so those 2 you had in your table. I kept those 2. And it means I'll tell you what I did in the tab text. I changed it totally than you did. And this one functions. This one, no. This is very, very innovative. Let me show you something and you'll like it. Let's go back. Let me open, which one we had? Opio. In Opio, hey, look at that. That's pretty cool. What did I write here? H1 on click, say hi, event. My name is Opio Daniel. And let's put a space here. It looks like HTML, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Let's refresh this one first. Why it doesn't like me? Fine. Now I need to refresh it. No, it doesn't like me. Why it doesn't like me? No reason?
You have not yet saved. Where?
What?
You have to save it from where, doctor?
What?
You need to save it
From
from.
where? You have to save it like
I
this.
didn't. Thank you for teaching me the basic of database. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you like it, Brenda?
Yes, doctor.
So do we need HTML anymore, the pages? We can save the pages in the database, can't we? I know Daniel like it. Now let's see if you can guess why I'm doing this page. It doesn't work yet. I'm working on it. What's the objective of this one going to be? So when I click on the source, it will show me the content. It will show me the content, and not this one. This is SEO. We didn't put anything. And let's put something for SEO. Is that right? So what's going to happen now? It doesn't like me. This field required. Function. Which function do you want to have? Say, function. Yes.
My name. My name.
Which function? Go
My
away.
name, doctor.
Okay. How about that? But who is going to activate it? So how about we do the following? You never dreamed of doing something like that, did you? I told you one day I will do that. Remember, Daniel?
Yes, Doctor.
Right. So it would be really nice if this text will be in your tab, SEO, is that right?
Yes.
And when I click on it, the on click will activate this function, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? You like that? That's if it works.
Double quotes.
That's if it works. I don't know. Let's try it. Refresh. No, it doesn't work. What did I miss now? For Appio, it does work. See, it says hi. So that's
Doctor, you said
what did I
double
screw up?
quotes.
I screwed up somewhere. Let's say Appio, what I did. Opio.
Doctor, you missed double quotes when you were writing the function.
This is the way, like that. Okay, I'll do it this way. I think.
No, you missed double quotes
What did I miss?
on the on click.
I love it when my student teaching me. This is my favorite things. That's why I talk to you. Otherwise, what's the point? What did I miss?
Double quotes there
Yeah,
on the
you're right. Here. That's a good catch. That's it. Isn't this one supposed to be like that? I never know. So let it go away. And put the go away here. Is that right? I think both of them should work, shouldn't it?
Yeah, both should work.
Let's see what happened now. Eh, see, Brenda. Where is she? She always hide away.
Yes, doctor.
I don't see you. Now I see you. So what will happen if I click? Go away. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it beautiful?
Yes, it is.
You like that, don't you? I don't think anybody has that kind of a method in the world. I checked it. I did it 20 years ago. It still doesn't exist. I'm redoing it. Now, it's not convenient to work this way, am I right? It's not convenient. So what will be a smart way to complete it? So if this is the active one, I want to click on the source. And what do I want to open up? I want a window to open up. Is that right? And the window will have two tabs. One is to write the HTML, and that will be saved into the field of the tab. And on the left side, on the other one, to have all the functions. And when I click on the function, I can just write the function on the right side, and it will keep it in the database. Is that right?
Yeah.
Let's do the other things. Let's see. So that's the objective of what I'm working on now. But let's first understand what's happening so far. Let's do one more thing, SEO. Let's do the following. Let's see what happens if I do that. I forgot how I did it. Come back. كاو ده. Okay, come back. Okay. And let's see if we can do something else here. How about we'll do how did I call it? Come back. Fair enough. Let's see what happened now. Let's go here. Let's refresh. Let's see if this one works. Hey, come back. That's pretty cool. Go away. Isn't it cool? Brenda is shocked, I think. Are you shocked?
I'm surprised.
Huh?
I am, Doctor.
This is my invention 20 years ago, and honest to God. I haven't seen anybody have done it yet. What does it mean? We don't need a lot of those pages. We're wasting our time. We're much more effective to write programs. Honest to God, this, we will patent it in some point, which will generate a hell of a lot of money. But who cares about the money? The money will come after us. We don't have to run after the money. The key point is to do something smart. You go to Opio. Yeah, Opio is so boring. Hi. What do you mean hi? Say something. Okay? Amos has nothing because it's empty. But the beauty will be when we click the source, it will know that this is the active one. It will open a window. I'm working on it. I have a bug. It'll have a window here. The window will have two tabs, one for the HTML and the other one will be for all the functions for that tab. You got it?
Yeah.
And then when I touch that tab, I can add all the functions that I want. Just clean them up. You got it? I'm still not sure that this is the right way the way I'm doing it. Should I keep it as all the functions should be in the same page, like this way, or should I put every function separately? I'm not sure yet. We will see. Okay? I need to think about it because I don't want to start looking for the functions. I rather to have a list of functions. When you click the functions comes up. That will be much smarter, but I will see what to do. Or maybe I will make a rule that you have to divide it somehow. And then when you divide it, it will divide it automatically for you. You got it? So we will see. I need to think about it. Maybe I will add another table to link the two. Okay. Now that we have done, now that I explained how does it work, let's see the structure. Okay, let's go step by step. Let's go to the hard one first. How is the server work? Okay, and in order to go to the server, we really have to initiate the client. So that's how, you know what, let's start with the client, in fact. We have an object called a manager. Okay, and what does a manager supposed to have? We said it takes a name, it takes the location. By the way, you don't really have to transfer to him the body. You can put something in the body and just send him a div, and then he does everything inside that div. You got it? But that's for later on. And then we have to how to communicate to the core application to manage it in the database. So let's go and see what happened. First of all, I give my name, give the body, I give the link. Those three things are in. Then I have a container and I have titles. Okay? That's going to be two divs. A div, first div, that's something we have done. Okay? Daniel, you have done it. One div will hold the buttons and another div will hold the content. Is that right? For each one of them. That's something you have done, Daniel, and sit with Brenda and Michael. Then I have to have a dictionary to hold a link to the tabs. Because every tab has a name, and every tab, I want to know how to access it. And every tab going to be managed by an object. So the tabs dictionary, this one is going to hold a link to the, it's going to have a link to object. And so every tab will have an object, and these tabs will have the key, the name of the tab, and more correctly, the number inside the database. That will be the key. And then the object representing the tab will be hosted here. We'll see that in a minute. So let me first, before I continue, Daniel, you're going to write a page or two describing the job of the database, the table. You got it?
Yes.
You have 5 columns. One is the index. Okay? One is the name of the advanced tab. Second, it's going to be the name of the tab. Fourth, going to be the HTML of the tab. And 5, the functions of that page. Got it? Of that tab. Got it?
Yeah.
You're going to write it clearly. Yeah, don't write like half a sentence that you are the only one that understands it. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this one Michael will write. Did I give Michael something to do already? Yeah. Brenda. That's what Brenda will write. The structure of the manager in JavaScript. The manager is in charge of managing all the tabs. And he has a name. He needs to know where to put the tabs, like he has a location. So if I give him a body, he'll put it in the body. If I give him a div, he will put it in the div. So it doesn't matter. The body could be a div or whatever in the page. Then I give him a link to the core application so he can communicate it to the core application. Then he's going to have a container, which is a div, and a title, which is going to be also a div. One to hold the buttons themselves and one to hold all the mini text in each one of them. So this is for the OPIO. This is empty, by the way. SEO has some stuff inside. So all those are divs that holding the HTML that come from the database. But first of all, I have to create the buttons and I have to create the divs, correct? Got it? Okay.
Yes.
So it has to create 2 divs, and then we have a kind of an hosting all my tabs. I'm going to create tab object for every tab. And I'm going to keep them in my tabs dictionary, which is part of the advanced tabs manager. So we have these tabs in the tabs manager, and I'm going to create in a minute. We will see how it does it, and it will keep them there. Then we have 3 functions. to start doing some work for me. Okay? So that's usually a structure of a manager. We have parameters that comes to the manager. We have the tab container and the titles, the buttons container, divs. Then we have someone to hold all the objects. For each tab will have its own object. So I'm going to keep them here, the link to them here. And finally, some functions to start creating the page, to create the tabs. So the first things we want to do, they are really temporary. This one, the job of this one is to create those buttons. They really shouldn't be there for the user. Is that right?
Yeah.
So for now, I'll keep them here that way, but eventually we'll write some comment like if, let's just call is show is show buttons equal to true, then it will do this function. Is that right? Otherwise, I don't want to show them. When don't I want to show them? If the user is me, you guys that going to program and do the changes, you need those buttons. Is that right? Otherwise, we don't need those buttons. So if I make a variable, I made a variables here, I can transfer it to here in the end, and the default will be true. Let's go. True is in JavaScript is like that. Let's put it this way. So the default will be true. Okay? And it will run this function. And what does this function do? Very simple. It's not really that simple. It's really much more complex. It's making, you can look, this is the button to add, with this click stuff. This is the button to delete, okay? And this is the button that I'm working on right now for the source. So there really are 3 buttons, one for each. That's what creating these buttons. You see that? So if I go back to here now, and I don't want to show it, what I can do is just really go here to here and just change this one and add it to here and write false. Now those buttons will not show. Which is the usual case after we finish programming this application. Is that right? If I refresh, nothing appears. I love that. Why it doesn't like me? Why is my mistake? Is show buttons equal to false? So what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? Why does it like me? Or did I make a mistake, Daniel? I think it's usually a stupid mistake. Let me try that again. Okay, we're getting false. And it doesn't show anything. It's not showing this one. And that's the only things. It shouldn't. Let me take that one away for a second. Let's see if that's the reason. Let me try it again. Yeah, so what's the problem? Esther, what's the problem? Let me take this one out of here. Put it here. First of all, that's okay. It says false. Now, if is show patterns equal to true, okay, then he's creating it. This one is a false. Let's put a true here for a second. It should show it, but why it doesn't like me? Wait. It should like me also with the false. Okay, this is good. But what about the false? If I keep it as a false, so that should be, where is it? It will be, this will be false, and that will not be a call. So maybe this one relating to them. Initial container. Hold on, let me see this one a second. This one is creating the containers. Yeah, this one containing this one and this one. Why don't we do that? Hold a second. This one, the truth of the matter should be first to be created. No, it doesn't make a difference. No. So that's fine. That's a different thing altogether. Why it doesn't like me? I don't know. Give me an empty. Let's take this one and take it to here. What I might get false, and here sometimes it tells me why. Here we go. ATM is not defined. Why is ATM is not defined? Where is it? In here. How come? What it has to do with the other one? I have no idea. ATM is defined. Gosh. Okay, I need to figure it out, but this should work. For now, let's continue. I'll figure it out later on and let you know. Let's take it away now. Okay, let me take it away for now. And we don't really care if it's false or true. It will make it anyway. So we'll get it and I'll fix it later on. Yeah, okay. So I don't need to see that. Okay, so this one basically creating those buttons, those 3 buttons, okay? I want to have that possibility to hide it or bring it back. Then those 3 are being created by this function. So by the last function. So hold it. First of all, what is this one doing? This one creating 2, let's leave this one, I'm skipping for now. It's creating a div, okay, for the buttons. And that's a div for the containers, for the tabs, which will have inside the content of every tab, okay? And this one is just attaching it to the body. This is it. That's really what this function does. So this one, that's what this one does. What this one does, it's the main work, set tab. Let's skip on the, no, let's do this one first, yeah. So let's see what this one does. This is very elegant. That's pretty, very, very, very hard one. Used to be much easier, remember, Daniel? But it's so elegant, it's so powerful. Everything is in this function. Such a beautiful function. What does it do? It wants to create the tapes. So what does it has to do? It has to put up the data, correct? It has to put up the data from the database, read all the rows, bring them, and start creating for every row a table. Correct, Daniel?
Yes, no.
So which function is he going to call? First of all, is calling, remember in here, we have activate function link. Remember that goes to the core, to that function in the core application. And this one in charge of getting the data from the database. So far, so good?
So good.
Okay, so let's see what's happening. But in order to activate it, I have to send it with a dictionary. So I'm making a dictionary here. What do I have in the dictionary? The object is advanced tapes. What is this object? It's sitting on the server. Is that right?
Yeah.
And this object is nothing but this object. Fair enough? So I'm telling him, I want you to go to this object. That's why I'm making this dictionary. Go into these objects. And the truth of the matter, I should really put the function first, but it doesn't matter. And I want you in that dictionary, in this object, find a function called get tabs from table. So far, so good?
Yes.
Good. So I'm going to tell him, I want you to go to this function. So I go to this object. Where is it? Here we go. And here is the function. You see? So I'm telling him, go to these objects and call this function. That's what I want him to do. What next? When you get there, okay, when you get to that functions, I'm not going to give you any parameters. You don't need any parameters. So I'm sending you parameters with empty dictionary. Okay? I might give you parameters if you need. You will see in other functions we will. So you have a parameters variable, but it's really empty dictionary. And I'm giving you ATM. What does this ATM means? I want you to give me, okay, ATM is to which advanced step I want you to deal with. Because we said we might have several advanced steps and I give them different names, correct? So to make things simple, I'm giving always the name, the tab name, the my name, which is the name of the advanced tab. You got it? So this way I'm transferring to him on which advanced tabs I'm talking about. Otherwise he doesn't know what to do. So this is the 4 things that I'm giving him, but I'm sending it as a dictionary. By the way, when you're sending a dictionary, this function doesn't know how to take a dictionary. I cannot just do dic and put a dictionary. I have to turn it to a string. And JSON has a function called stringify. So it takes the dictionary in JavaScript. This is a dictionary in JavaScript. It makes it as a string. So he's sending it as a string to this function. I hope so far so good. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So this one is Brenda going to define, to explain. Is that right? You are the last one left. Is that right? Yeah. So we have a set tabs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send a request to this function. And the request is really in the structure of the dictionary. And what the dictionary says, go to this object called advanced tabs, go to this function, activate these functions. To these functions, okay, transfer the parameters, but I'm not transferring anything. So this function will have parameters, but will be empty. So I don't really need to use it. But this is a structure that we're gonna keep. And I want you to be aware, I'm talking about an advanced tab manager with this name. So this stuff coming to this function, and let's see what happens when it gets there. So we're getting to here. No, this one we don't need anymore. And we're getting to the core view. By the way, we don't need this view anymore either. So we're getting to this view. It gets to this function. And that's what does the magic. So what does it do? We're sending it the dictionary, remember?
Yeah.
So we're already getting the dictionary. Let me print it so you can see it. By the way, this is really a string. This is not a dictionary in Python. Don't forget, when we were here, we had a dictionary in JavaScript. We took that dictionary, we turned it to a string, and we transferred the string to this function. So we got here, in here, we have a string in our hand. It is not a dictionary in Python, so I cannot read what inside in Python. So I have to use a trick. Eval, take a string and run it and return whatever it is. So this eval is a magic one. It's making it a dictionary inside Python now. Got it? This is a beautiful way how I transfer a dictionary from JavaScript into Python dictionary. Got it? So now that I have a dictionary here, well, what do I have in the dictionary? I have those 4 stuff: function, ATM, object. Let's even organize them in the way I organize them there. Is that right? Wasn't that the order? Correct?
Or
Now, let's see who is the smart guy. And that's really a hard one. Let's see who is smart or not. Object is a string. You agree? Object is a string, correct?
yes.
ATM is a string. This is the name. Correct? We're transferring a string in here. What else? Function, it's a string. Parameters, it is a string. What is parameters? See, a function, it's a string. This one is a string because my name is a string. Object is a string called advanced tapes. You see the quotation. This one doesn't have quotation, but I know this is a string. Function is in quotation. So what is parameters?
It's a dictionary.
It's a dictionary, but empty. I don't really care here. Just for the demonstration, let's write here name, but I'm not going to use it, yeah? For this purpose, I don't need it. Amos. It's a dictionary. Got it?
Yes.
So now when we get to here eventually, what are we getting? We're getting a dictionary and we're getting a string here, and the string is going to be there. By the way, if you print this one again, you'll get the same things because Python doesn't distinguish between the two. It will turn it to string and will print it. So this one and this one will print the same things. But the objects is a string. ATM, it's a string. Function, it's a string, but params is a dictionary. Got it? Now I need to make out of it a command, okay? And this is the beauty. So I'm going to print for you, print S, and see what this S is. Let me put it here. So we can know what this command is when we see it. Let me put another one here. Let's make this one 5 so we can see both of them under the same. Those one will be the same. But here, the beauty here, we'll get this one, we get this one, this one. And what did I do here? It's pretty cool. I took the name, is that right? I added parentheses, correct? Okay, because this is going to be a variable. That's the name of it's the name. And in a minute, we'll see how sophisticated is this one. Let's run it first, okay? And then we'll get to that one. Okay, let's see what happened. Let's see what happened really here. Okay, what do we got? The first one is a dictionary, you agree?
Yes.
And what does it say? Object, advanced tab. And then we have ATM, function. Is that right? Params. But pay attention. This is a string. This is the first one. You got it?
Yeah.
Yes.
The second one, the eval, turn it into what? To a dictionary. And I'm printing really a dictionary in Python. It looks the same, but this one is a dictionary. This is not a string. By the way, did you notice it changed the quotation to a single quotation? It looks the same, but this one is a string and this one is a dictionary. Got it? Pretty cool, isn't it? Okay? Now that this one is dictionary, I can read stuff from it. I can read this one, I can read this one, I can read this one. This one is a dictionary. What is that dictionary? It's this one. Name Amos. It's a dictionary. You see that? Got it?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Now what are we doing here? We're taking all that stuff and what are we building? See the beauty of it. The S, it's a string. And what is the first part? Is the object, which is advanced tab. Is that right? You will see in a minute, is expecting the name of the dictionary, of the tabs. Okay? How do I know that? If I go to the object, and you already know in class in Python, I added the manager name. You see the manager name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the ATM manager. I called it ATM, remember?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's accepting that and keeping it inside Python objects. Now this is self, it's like this in JavaScript, remember? Self in Python is like this in JavaScript. So I'm keeping it as part of this object. I will use it later on, okay? Then I am, when I do that, it's really like creating the object. Since I don't really need it, I immediately, after the object is being created, I'm calling the function. You notice? That's
Yes.
why when I build it up here, right after the parentheses, pay attention to the trick. I have parentheses and I have a single parenthesis inside. That's why I get the single parenthesis here. So you know it's a string. Got it? Okay? After he creates the object and he takes the name of the manager, he is calling that function. And the function is get tab from tables. Since I want all of them, I don't really need any parameters. But in any case, I'm transferring the parameters inside here. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So now this is really what it's doing. It's really going. After I have the string, I use the eval this time. What the eval does, it makes it like a command in Python. And what does this command looks like? It's really creating the objects and calling this function. So calling this function means go to this function. And let's see what this one does. This one you do understand what, but see the beauty of it. I don't really need the parameters. I'm not really using the parameters here. You got it? I can print it because I just transferred it. So for you, I'll print it. Print. I'm not going to use it, yeah? But I'll print param. I will use it in other places. Secondly, so let's just print it so you can really see it. That's a very sophisticated one. Everyone certificate 3 must know it by heart. Otherwise, you can't really work for Academy City. And let's see what did he do. So I see all the stuff we talked about, and then here in the end, he type name Amos. You see that?
Yeah.
This is really the parameters. This is the beauty. Okay, I'm gonna remove it. I'm gonna remove the whole thing so we can focus on the other one. So now that we understand how it works, and you run the eval. The eval we said is running really this function. And what this function does, let's see what it does. And we're gonna keep naming from now on the same way. Otherwise, we'll get totally lost. This one you know already. I'm calling the data advanced tabs objects. Is that right? You, Daniel, did that all. Remember?
Yes, sir.
You didn't have this part. Am I right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Why did I add this part? And that's the only reason. Why did I transfer? By the way, remember the manager name, we kept it here now, correct? Which is the ATM. So I'm now filtering the database with ATM is the name of the first column, correct? So I want only rows that belongs to this manager. That's why I filter by that manager. So that manager now, that manager will be filtered by self.manager name. So the ATM column, I want only the one with this name of the manager, which is ATM in our case. Got it? And give
Yes.
me all the rows. Now that I have that one, this one you already have done before. Remember you did it? But
Yes,
I
sir.
just did it a little different. I gave you the tab name. You had only the tab name and the ID, if I recall. So I put in the result the TID. For every row, I put the ID. For every row, I put the tab name. For every row, I take the text. And what do we have in the text? The HTML, correct?
Yes.
And what do we have in the tab functions? The functions that I write the functions there, correct?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I put it in a dictionary. So this is the dictionary. Is that right? Correct?
Yes,
That's
sir.
printed. You know, and then the dictionary goes back. And how does it comes back? It comes here. When I call the eval with this S, this is really the dictionary. So let's print it here. Let's print the result. Okay? Let's print it. So it's pretty cool. Okay, let's look at it. Or let's see how the results look like. That's pretty cool. Okay, we have several tabs. Number 3, the tab name is Amos. The text, we don't have any text, is none. And I don't have any functions. Is that right?
Yes.
Number 2, the tab is SEO. The text, see, it's HTML, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes.
And then what do we have next? All of that. Then the tab functions, and here is don't forget, is returning it as a text. You see, this is so complicated. Is turning it to a small text that has all the functions inside. That's pretty cool. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what are we really getting? We're getting the HTML as a text, and we're getting the function as a text for each one of the tabs. So far, so good?
So
That's
good.
pretty cool. Now, this one goes back. Let's take it away now. And I'm putting it back here. Say I'm returning a dictionary to whoever called this function. And I'm returning the dictionary, first of all, the status to be okay. The truth of the matter, I should really do try, but it always should be okay. And the result is this dictionary with all this information. Got it? One day
Yes.
we'll do it much smarter than that, okay? And I'll show you how we do it smarter. You can be really, really smart, but since those texts are not that big anyway, it doesn't worth the effort. Now that this one coming back is coming back, eventually coming back to here. Remember, I call that function, I send him this dictionary, it is the function, and it brings me back a dictionary, correct? And what do I have in that dictionary? Don't forget. In the dictionary, I have two fields. The one status should say okay, and a result that has a dictionary inside the dictionary by the name, by the key result. So far so good.
Yes.
Now, what is the trick? Another trick that you need to discover. So we're getting a dictionary, and now I'm looping. I'm taking from the dictionary, I'm taking only the second part, the result. I don't really care about the okay, status okay. Okay, I could write here, alert, you will see that, alert, dic, status, it should be okay. It should say okay. But the second part, that's really what it does here. This is the status. You see that? It should say okay. The second one, it's really the dictionary I need, which include all the data from the database. Is that right? Now I want to go one by one, like here. I go to number 3, I'll get for Amos. Number 2 for Opio. Number 3 for SEO. And now what do I do with it? That's the hard part. So I'm doing a loop. And what do I get? I am transferring that information to the table. I have another object called a table. I'm generating a table and I'm letting him kill himself to figure out what to do. It's his job to handle it, to handle himself. So what am I transferring to him? This, who is this? This is the manager. Remember? This is the manager. So I'm transferring the manager. In the tab, I always call it parent. He owns the tabs. He's the manager of the tabs. He's going to generate one tab for each one of them. And he's going to hold them inside its own tab. By the way, what is this tab? I will come back to this ATM underscore. But what is these tabs? It's right here. It's this one. So what is he doing? He's looping over everyone in the dictionary, getting the ID. So this is going to be the key in that dictionary of the manager. And what is he doing? He's creating an object. This is the object. And the object, so I'm going to have now a dictionary, ID from the database, an object. Another ID object, another ID object. And each object supposed to manage himself. I just need to provide him with the data. So I'm going to send him, I'm telling him, your name going to be the name from the tab name in the column in the database, correct? Next, I'm going to tell him your HTML is really the text table, the tab text. That was the HTML was, correct? And your functions, it is really right here. Finally, I'm transferring you also your ID. I don't know if I need that ID. Yeah, I do need ID. So here is the tab. We need to deal with the tab now. So when I'm creating the tab, what is it going to do? First of all, that's pretty funny. This is the most beautiful line I've ever written, I discovered 20 years ago. That's the most important. You know what does it do? Can you imagine? And it's not good because I will fix it in the future. Okay? I'll fix it in the future. What it does, it takes, let's say for SEO, remember we wrote two functions? It was a text. It takes the text and turn them to a real JavaScript functions. Got it? The only problem is that if I'm writing the same function, the same name of the function for my tab Amos or Opio tab of Michael's tab, there will be a conflict. So we have to really start doing that. I will automatically will save those one with the name of the tab. I know how to do it. I will do it in the future. For now, this is okay. So this is very powerful line. So this object tab, when it's being created, is getting all the functions of each tab. It turns them to JavaScript tab functions. It's not a string anymore. Then it takes who is the parent, who is then my name, what is the HTML, okay? What is my HTML, tab functions, etc., etc. My ID, then I have button, I have my own content, and by the way, really, this content, minutes we'll get to that. Then you have create title div and pop win objects. Let's leave that one for a second because I didn't really do anything with it. So we have create title div. So I have a content and I have a button. Well, that makes sense. Every tab, what does it have? You already have three things, every tab. Every tab has its own functions. It has the button and it has the content. Again, when I look at that, every tab, it has a button. This is the button. This is the content. Is that right? And it has its own function. When I click on Opio, it said hi. It's a function in Opio. Is that right?
Yes.
Got it?
Yes.
So, and when I go to SEO, I have two functions, you see? But I need a button and I need a container. So how do I deal with those three? This one takes care of the functions. Here, I'm just dedicating a place for the button and the content, but somebody has to do it. So that's what this function is about. So let's go ahead. By the way, I could have left it here, but I like to make it in a separate function. So what do we do in the function? We create a button, we put an attribute, we give an attribute class. That one you know, Daniel, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Then we have a HO. This one, the inner HTML, it's the name of the button. This is really what it's right in here when it says Opio SEO. Is that right? Okay. And then the tab name, by the way, comes from here. The tab name came from my name. So that's the way I'm fixing. And then I'm adding an event. I'm event handler. And this one, what happened if I click on the button? Okay? We'll come back to that in a minute. And then I click on it. I'm activating it and I'm adding the button to the container of the parent. Remember, who is holding all the titles? The titles are being held by the manager. Here I have titles. Remember, we made here a div. Is going to hold all the buttons. So the child tab, making sure is taking the button and is a bit, by the way, this that button, this is really HTML object, and is adding it to the, this is a div that is managed by the parents, and that div is holding all the buttons inside. So this is why he's adding it to there. That's done. Then I have the content. I have the div, I give it an ID, I give it a tab, I have it a I'm adding it to the parent container is holding the content of that one. So that means is the div this time is going to this container. This is also a div, okay? And that div was managed in the bottom here. And then finally, what am I doing? Inside the content that belongs to this div, I'm putting the HTML. That's pretty cool. Remember? We take the HTML and we put it right there. That's pretty cool. And that's why the way you see it. That's pretty hard, isn't it, Daniel? Your brain is exploding up to Israel. I can hear it's the popping. Or it's maybe a popcorn, I don't know. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yes, Doctor.
One day you'll write the book, the three of you. I don't think I would have the time to write the book, but there is no book like that. This is a design. This is like somebody designed Django. We're designing how you write applications in Academy City. And there should be a book one day. But you go step by step. You build up certificate 3 and you put the material there. This can be used in every application. Got it?
Yes.
But that's the stage we are in now. And that's the beauty, the way it works. This is from the client point of view and the server point of view. What next that I'm working on, and I will do next week with you, I'm working on this one. Every tab, when I'm here, I want to have the ability that when I click here, instead of be this stupid go away, it will open a window. That's what I call a pop-up window, just like I did in Academy City. Why is Academy City here? Do I have Academy City open? See, like when I do this one, I click, this is a window. This is a pop-up window. You got it?
Yes.
And
Yes.
each tab could have several of them. See, this is another pop-up window, totally different. And they're going to be the children of the tab. So we use the same logic. We use the same logic as we did so far. We need to have a dictionary inside the tab for the pop-ups. That's pretty cool, isn't it? And then you can do everything. I think it's enough for one day. What do you think? I'm trying to kill you, but leave you alive. Okay? Wow, Michael is holding his head. And you thought electrical engineering is hard, didn't you? You haven't started yet. When you get to machine learning, you want to jump out of the window. That's University of Chicago style. What do you think? Why those guys so successful? That's the level. Got it? That's not Uganda. It's not Israel either. Honestly. You won't find it's in Israel either. That's Chicago. That's why you have a whole university, a whole department, see the proportion. You know how many professors are in the economics department? About 100. How many students graduating every year?
Many.
How many? You have 100 professors. How many students do you think graduating every year?
Many.
How
Many
many?
students. A big number. I don't.
Give me a big number.
In the world or just?
No, it's University of Chicago. I'm telling you, in University of Chicago, economics department, there are about 100 professors. You have more than about between 10 to 15 have a Nobel Prize. How many students you think graduating every year from that department? PhD.
I think the graduation rate is 15% PhD.
You're so wrong. It's about 10 to 15 top. So you have 3 professors of every student. And you have a Nobel Prize professor for every student. Now you got it.
Yes.
And that's the level Academy City going to be. And when we're done, I'm going to present it to many professors over there. But we are still far away. In about a year to 2 years until I can show them something like that. You can't bullshit with those people. They look at your eyes, they know if you are stupid or smart. I'm very serious. So it has to be a really high level, okay?